Okay, let's run.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings, salutations. This is, and I quote, the weekly show where we introduce you to some of the best creators from all over the world, and we find out more about them by taking your questions. The elite, the best of the best. But here at And I Quote Channel, we'll make you better. I am your host, Ryan of And I Quote Channel, and please welcome our guest for this week's episode, indie writer extraordinaire, J.K. Wolfpack is in the house. What's up, J.K.? How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well, man. With someone with a name that starts and ends with Wolf, that's freaking awesome. Because I grew up as a wrestling fan. I grew up watching the NWO versus the NWO Wolfpack. I mean, so many great, wonderful memories. And the funny thing is, I lived in North Carolina for a time, and I was watching college basketball, and I gravitated towards the NC State Wolfpack for a reason. Red and black attack, Wolfpack for life, just saying. But outside of the professional sports and professional wrestling references, we're happy that J.K. Wolfe is here. We're also happy that you are here who may be watching or listening to this program right now. So treat yourself, like and share the episode. If you're watching this live on a replay, thank you so much for doing that. If you have any questions for J.K. Wolfe as we go throughout the course of these proceedings, let us know in the comments, let us know in the chat. More than happy to hear from you as we go through this process one step at a time. Geez, my words are all over the place. But J.K., here, first up for grabs, what would you say were some of your favorite books or writers growing up as a youngling?
So when I was little, I got into so actually what's interesting is I when I was little, I was in grade school. I actually had a hard time reading. I had to have some reading help in like second grade, and it was really helpful. And by the end of second grade, I went from being, I think, the worst reader in the class to like one of the best. And so by the beginning of second grade, no joke, all I could read was like the cardboard books that like little kids read, right? Like toddlers. And then by the end, I was reading chapter books. So shout out to the school I went to. It's no longer around, but it's a long time ago. I'm dating myself here, but they did a fantastic job of teaching me to read and teaching me to like to read. I've always liked fiction. We were talking a little bit before the show started about stuff that we were forced to read in school. And I didn't like nonfiction. I loved fiction, loved escaping. So some of the stuff I loved back then was like C.S. Lewis, like the Chronicles of Narnia. And then as I got older, I got really into like some fantasy and sci-fi books. Later in high school and college, I really liked like Neil Gaiman, some of his like urban fantasy stuff, the Dean Koontz, the Odd Thomas series, and then obviously my dad is a huge reader. He was really into like Tom Clancy and all of that. So I grew up with kind of like a wide variety, sci-fi, fantasy, thrillers, and stuff like that. So Tolkien, all of that. So.
Well, as a Tom Clancy character once said, "We sail into history." Sorry, Hunt for Red October, baby. Come on,
Yep,
Connery and
absolutely.
Come on, dude. Yes, and it's funny. It's funny. That's my favorite. I haven't seen the television series with Krasinski, but of the Jack Ryan movies, the Hunt for Red October, I think, is the best. I think the original is the best.
The show is fantastic, and that was something else I was going to mention is, I actually always kind of hated the thing of like, oh, the book was better, or this or that, or I don't like watch the show, or I don't watch the movie because I love the book, and I'm like, you can like both. Like I sometimes think of them as, they're separate versions of the same character, and so I love the Jack Ryan series. One of my favorite series that probably inspired me to start writing is the Michael Connelly, Harry Bosch series. But actually, I started watching the show first, the Bosch show, and I love the show. And I know they're the same character. It's produced by the author. but they're very different. And in some ways, I like the TV show version better than the book character. But it's one of those things where I'm like, you can like both. And I've always hated that argument of like the book versus the show or the movie. And I'm like, listen, man, it's all storytelling, right? And humankind's oldest way of sharing information ideas is storytelling, and it's all stories. So I love them all. So
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, I got to eventually. I got to sit my keister down and watch the Jack Ryan series with Krasinski because I've heard some good things about it over there. And plus, I think he just came out with a new movie on Prime. What is it? I think it's called Jack Ryan Dark Wolf or something like that, or Dark Ops.
I can't, yeah, something like that. I haven't seen it yet, but I definitely it's we just saw it the other night. My wife and I were looking through
Nice.
Netflix, whatever it's on, and I saw that teaser, and it was like one of those like, all right, we need to like bookmark this to come back to. So
We need to, yeah, bookmarks so important when reading a book, folks. Buy as many bookmarks as you can and support indie artists who create them because bookmarks are
oh
awesome.
yeah.
I got tons and tons and tons of bookmarks. It's one of my I actually, it's funny. I collect two things nowadays: books and bookmarks. Which one do we collect more of? That's a question for the audience to answer because I can't answer that for you. But good stuff. So you mentioned the Jack Ryan series. Any other favorite TV series that stand out to you?
I mean, I love the Reacher series, Bosch series. Like I was saying earlier, that one was one of my favorites. Probably my favorite TV show cop ever, or TV cop ever, is Harry Bosch on there.
Nice.
It was like, I don't know if you've seen it, but they did 10 seasons, I think, and then they did a spin-off series where he's post-retirement as a PI, and that was like, I think, Bosch Legacy or something.
Legacy.
And
Yeah.
then they have the Ballard spin-off, which same author. And then I did see they're doing a prequel series of Harry Bosch in like the 90s as a young cop that's coming out. And
Oh,
the actor they picked for it, have you seen what's the Jedi Knight Star Wars video game series
I believe.
at
Well,
all?
I've seen bits and
Or
pieces.
or
Yeah.
the more recent, it's not Jedi Knight, it's like Jedi Survivor or something. Anyway, it's
Oh, okay.
the same actor who they modeled that video game character off of is the actor that's playing a young Bosch.
Oh,
So
wow.
that'll be really interesting because when I saw the preview for it, I was looking, I'm like, man, that actor looks familiar, and I had to, I love the age of Google. Google the actor, and I'm like, that's where I've seen him before. Okay, so
Interesting. Gonna have to keep an eye out for
yeah,
that. Yeah, it's funny because when I saw the trailer for the character, the series of the show called Ballard with my girl Maggie Q, who I've been a fan of Maggie Q since freaking. I mean, dude, I've known her for 20 plus years professionally when she showed up in Mission Impossible 3.
yeah,
And then a few years later, she gets her own show with the remake of La Femme Nikita, simply called Nikita. So
yeah.
she was the title character Nikita, and I was like, "Damn, girl! Like seriously, man, Maggie Q is a badass. Like she is not someone you want to cross."
No,
So
and she embodies that character really well, the Ballard character, because I just started reading
oh, did you?
that series, and around the same time the show came out, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is dead on. And it helps that the author, Michael Connolly, is like the executive producer of the show, and so when people try to argue like, oh, this doesn't embody the character, he's like, well, I wrote the character and it does. So but that's a great argument. Like when people try
Yeah,
to get mad at the continuity, like it's my character, I can do with what I want. Like this is who it is. So
that's that's a fair point. That's fair. Yeah, I do want to eventually. I would like to watch the Bosch, the Legacies, the Ballard, because like I said, I've been a fan of Maggie Q for 20 plus years. So I want to, I want to see how she's doing with this, and seeing her a bit of a different kind of character that she's playing in this one. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll
yeah.
definitely see. Any other favorite movies of yours, past or present, that stand out to you?
I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. A coffee cup this morning is a stormtrooper. On this side, when I drink from it, it's a stormtrooper. So my mom got it for me. And so they're watching the kids right now while my mom and dad are, while I'm doing this. And so I had to show that off to her this morning. So yeah, a big Star Wars fan. I don't know. I'm a big like nerd. I love like superheroes and sci-fi and action movies. Just pretty much anything. I have two kids now, so I don't really have a lot of time for movies, but I do like to stream them when I can now. So pretty much anything I'll watch that comes out.
That's awesome. Did you see Maul Shadow Lord? Yeah.
I have not.
Oh
No,
my
not yet.
god, dude, that animated series is the best thing I've seen for me personally, and a lot of people have differing opinions on this, and that's fine. I think Maul Shadow Lord is the best thing overall I've seen in Star Wars, just for me personally, in 10 years since Rogue One. That's how good it is. It's Maul
I'm a
Shadow
big
Lord.
Mandalorian fan,
Oh,
so
I love
but
Mando.
yeah,
I
so
love Mando. I just don't feel like certain episodes are like filler. You know, it has its peaks and valleys, like
yeah.
a lot of television series do. Whereas Rogue One, being a somewhat standalone film, even though it's connected to the original trilogy,
Oh
it's
yeah.
such a great experience in the theater, and it's even just as good when you're watching it in the comfort of your own home on Blu-ray or DVD or streaming, and all that stuff. So I had this thrilling moment when I saw Rogue One, and then I had certain little thrilling moments when I was watching Mandalorian. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
like I said, ebbs and flows, ebbs and flows. Whereas every moment of Rogue One, I was locked in from beginning to
Oh,
end.
absolutely.
The ending just breaks you. It's so good. But then when I saw Maul Shadow Lord, I was like, this is, in the words of the director, this is peak cinema. All right. This is
Okay.
peak
I'll
cinema, dude.
I'll have to
You
go look that up.
you need to watch all 10 22-minute episodes of Maul Shadow Lord season 1. And yes, it has been greenlit for season 2, so there is going to be a part 2
Perfect.
sometime next year in 2027, I'm assuming, between the executives and Dave Filoni over there. So definitely stream it. You're gonna love it. You're gonna freak the heck out. You're gonna love it from beginning to end. It's the
All
best
right.
thing since sliced bread. And then the movie just came out this weekend. The Mandalorian and Grogu movie just came out. So
Oh man. Yeah, I feel so behind.
yeah, well, this is why we call it "This is the May." All right, this is the May, J.K. Wolf. This is the
Yes.
May. And not only that, this is the way. All right, this is the way. Not only
Yes,
is this the way,
absolutely.
but this podcast, known as "And I Quote," is the way. Don't forget to like and share with your closest friends. If you're watching this live on a repeat, thank you for doing so. If you have any questions for J.K. Wolf, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. More than happy to hear from you as they come in respectively. Goodness gracious. So with that being said, when did you start writing?
I think well, I wrote my first book actually pretty quick. It only took me a couple months. And I started writing probably January or so of last year, 2025. I'd always wanted to write a book, so I think that's why it went quick. I had always talked about doing it. I'd always had like a rough outline of the story I wanted to tell in Shadows of the Badge. Um, and once I sat down and actually decided to do it, I was inspired by one of my friends who's going to be on your show in July, DM Weber. He and I served together in the Coast Guard, and he told me he was writing a book. So let me read a couple excerpts of his early drafts, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna get off my butt and actually write mine too. Um, and then, as a quick plug, we've actually decided to have a shared universe of our characters. I don't even know how that came about, and so our books tie in with each other slightly. They're fine standalone, but there's some like Easter eggs in each one. And both of our main characters, mine being Jake Harper, Detective Jake Harper, served in the Coast Guard with his character Logan Cross, and they still help each other out. So, but that's when I started my first book. And I think I published the first one, in May or June of 2025. So it was a pretty quick turnaround for the first one.
Gee whiz. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, take your P's and Q's from this man because he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. Doesn't waste any time. Just saying. Just go right. You cut in the words of the promo we cut earlier today. You cut right to the chase, which is fantastic. What would you say are some of the rewards about being a writer in general?
Um, I mean, it's really like it was really surreal seeing my book in print. And then one of my local bookstores actually picked it up and actually has both my books on the shelf. And it's really weird walking in there with my family, and it's like a coffee shop slash bookstore. And just looking over, I'm like, hey, there's my books. And I knew how much the owner had ordered, and seeing that they had sold. So she only had a couple left and has done a couple orders. And then I think one of the craziest thing is having like actual fans. So there was a book signing that DM Webb and I did together, a joint one when his debut came out recently, the last couple months. So I joined him for a book signing at that local bookstore for his first one, and we had this guy come in who had read my book, followed us on social media, and came in specifically to pick up DM Weber's book because he knew that there was a shared universe. And he walked in and he was like, I loved your books, and I've been following you guys. I knew you had this appearance, and I wanted to pick up your books. and he was just like gushing over how great, and it was just like such a surreal feeling because you're like, it's almost that imposter syndrome. You're like, I guess I'm really an author now. I have like I have a fan who, we have fans, but like one who actually showed up specifically to buy my friend's book because he knew that they crossed over and knew that we had a like a book signing. So that's been one of the most rewarding things I think is just like seeing that, this story that or stories now that I have just that was up in my head, that somebody else liked, or that other people like, and seeing reviews, and it's like, oh, people like this, and then we're getting emails, and I'm getting emails and stuff from people being like, and messages like, hey, when's your next one coming out? I can't wait to read it. I want to see this story continue. And so that's been probably the greatest thing, was just realizing like, oh man, like people besides me actually like this character that came out of my head, So I think that's the greatest thing.
Yes! That's awesome!
I mean, it really is, bro. Seriously, congratulations on all that. That's fantastic. That's dynamite. It just is.
Yeah,
It really is.
someone else enjoys the voices in my head, so that's the coolest part.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. On the opposite side of the fence, though, what do you think are some of the challenges about being a writer?
Finding time. So I'm very busy. I'm married. I have two small kids, 6 and 3. The book's about our detective, and I am a police officer, so I'm very busy. I'm in our investigations unit, and I actually just applied to detective, and probably going to get that. So like I'm on call. I'm busy. Basically, my current job, as I'm like kind of almost. We joke that I'm like a uniform detective. I don't have the title yet, but I'm an investigator. So a lot of these stories that are in these books, um, like not the main plot, but a lot of I'm very flashback heavy with my books, and for things that this character has gone through, those are taken from things I went through or stories that my friends have told me or coworkers. So I'm very busy. My wife and I own a business. She runs it. It's a wedding venue, so that's where she's at today. It's a beautiful Saturday in the Northwest, and there's a wedding there today with like 150 people. So she's busy doing that. So it's finding the time to write sometimes when that's all I want to do. I want to work on my book, but I have life gets in the way sometimes of that. So I think that's the biggest challenge. And I think the second one I'd say is it's editing. Editing is not the fun part. Writing is the fun part. I love getting the story out, and then it's like, okay, now I have the story, and the rough draft is not great of any book, and then it's going back and rewriting it and fixing it and having some close friends read it and give you honest feedback, and getting that honest feedback of like, hey, not only tell me where the typos are, but tell me what doesn't work, tell me what I need to cut. I mean, I had to in all of my books, or in the first two, there was a lot of stuff that they call it killing your darlings. So there's stuff where it's really you love putting in as an author, and someone reading it is like, dude, this has got to go. And so you have to kill your darling, kill something that means something to you. So there's whole sections of my first book that were originally in there and are no longer in there, and only I will ever know that they were in there. And that's like hard. But then it's also realizing with that it's like, hey, well, if I'm going to keep writing, I can always bring that in later. Into a future book or whatever. But it's I'd say that's the other hard part. It's just editing, and realizing that you gotta to make it the story that you want to tell. You have to change it, and fix it, and cut whole parts out, and rewrite parts, and make it fit. So that's the unfun part.
Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of editing either. I just like getting my story out and just letting the idea, run its course, right? You write it down, you
Yeah.
get it done, and then we publish it. We make lots of money off of that. No, we don't. That's a fantasy world, ladies and gentlemen. That is not how it works. And I'm not,
I've probably spent more money than I've gotten. So
yeah,
but
we're not in this for the millions, folks. If you're in this for the money, writer, you're not. You're going to be sorely disappointed. But I don't do this for the money. I do it because and we were talking about this a little bit backstage. We write it because we like doing it. It's fun. If we got ideas, we're gonna write them down because it's fun. It's fun writing, honestly. And this is the funny
Hmm.
thing because when I was a kid, we had to write all this stuff down and people still do to this day. This is not like uncommon. You got to write your stuff down in notebooks, and people keep telling me and people have said, and statistics have proven, if you write something down on paper, you're 10 times more likely to remember it than if you were to type it up on a computer screen. And I'm inclined to a certain degree to agree with that because I got all these notebooks.
Absolutely.
I got all these notebooks around me on my desk here, and anytime I got an idea or I'm watching a documentary about writing on social media, YouTube, sorry, it's a fact. There's lots of documentaries about writing on YouTube. I'm sure J.K. Wolfe has come across a few of them. If I'm watching something and I write this stuff down, it'll be like, okay, this is, it's going to be right here forever. It's not going anywhere. So,
Oh yeah. I have
yeah.
like a little moleskin notebook. I've got stuff. I also use the notepad on my phone, which you're right. Doing it electronically isn't quite the same, but at least there, I'm trying to at least remember it.
Yeah.
Um, and then I have a little like a little, I don't have it in here with me, but a little tiny moleskin notebook that I will sit and like write stuff down. I try to keep that with me for when I have those ideas. And then, yep, just like that. And, one of the other hard parts too is when the inspiration strikes at really inopportune times. I had the other night. I had sick kids this week, and
Oh,
they
I'm
were up,
sorry.
and I was up with them, and yeah, it's all right. They're all better now. But
Hmm. Hmm.
I had earlier this week. I was just like, it was a horrible night's sleep. I was up, I don't know, a dozen times with both kids, and um, but like in between one of them, I just all of a sudden had this crazy idea for a book, and um, I was like, if I don't write this down right now, um, then I will forget this, and so I wrote it down, and it'll. We'll see if it actually comes to fruition. I think it's a good concept. It's a sci-fi book I want to write. Maybe when I'm on my third book of the Jake Harper series right now, and I think when I finish that one, I may work on this other series. So, but we'll see if that actually comes to fruition. But it was one where I had to write it down because I was like, if I don't, then on tomorrow morning I'm gonna be like, what was that idea? So I was up for like, yeah. So I didn't get a lot of sleep that night because between the kids and my crazy brain doing what it does, I was up. So
Gee willikers, the things that happen to us, we're attempting to go to sleep or while we're sleeping. It's just one of those. It's one or the other, folks. It's one or the other. What isn't one or the other is the fact that this has been a great episode thus far. Van Dyke quote. Don't forget to like and share. If you have any questions for J.K. Wolfe, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. What advice would you offer to aspiring writers out there?
um, I heard this. I totally don't remember what the statistic is, but I heard that like a vast majority of people have a book idea. And it's a very small amount of people that actually do, like 10% or something crazy like that, or less of people that actually write a book. But almost everyone says they have an idea for a book. In fact, ever since I started writing, like I have friends and siblings that are like, "Hey, you should write a book about this. Write about book about this." And I'm like, "Thanks for your idea. Why don't you write why don't you go write your book?" But I think the advice I would have is just do it. Like sit down, start writing it. Like I was saying earlier, editing sucks, but the first draft, the only job of the first draft is to exist, to get your story down on paper or in a Word doc or Google Doc or however you want to do it. But basically, get your story, this idea you have, put it down because that is the majority of the work. Once you have a first draft, and the story exists, then you go and you fine tune it and get it out there. And I think that's the advice I'd have is actually sit down and do it because everyone it says they want to write a book someday, and very few people actually do. And it is so rewarding to get the story out of your head. Like I said earlier, like I just put this out there. I didn't even have my wife read it. I had a friend read it, and then I was just like, all right, I'm gonna put this out here. And I was like, worst case, no one buys it, no one likes it, and I got my story out of my head. Um, and people loved it, and people are loving these stories, and which is still absolutely insane to me that people like the stories that came out of my head. But that would never have happened had I not finally been like, all right, I'm gonna actually do this. I've been talking about it for years. I've been kicking this story around in my head for years, and it wasn't until I actually sat down and do it. So write it out, get that first draft done, and then you can fix it. Then you can make it out there. And it's so easy today to get your book published, even if it's just for you and your friends. Even if you're not wanting to publish it wide, you can get a couple printed copies through Amazon of your book and give it to your friends or for yourself, and it is so cool to see your own book on the bookshelf. So that's my advice, is just sit down and do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get that idea down.
In the words of Morgan Freeman, he's right, you know. He is. No, he is. He's absolutely
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and I agree with you because and I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but when my story got published last year, my family bought me a hardcover edition of the anthology that I got published in, and then I got the complimentary, the author copy that we got on paperback. So it's over here on top of the shelf. We can't really see it here, folks. I know it's far away. It's too many feet away, but yeah, Western Tales Volume 1, both hardcover and paperback are sitting right there because that's the first time my name ever got thrown into a book and been published as a writer. So I get, and like you said, I guess you get something published and it's out there in the world, you're a writer no matter what.
Yeah.
So my name is going to be, along with many others, of course, not just myself. I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but our names are going to be etched in stone for all eternity.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's like,
it's surreal, but it's true. We're out there, and it's like, I don't know if you ever have it, but like someone in your personal life finds out, and they're like, "Wait, you're an author," and it's like they almost like look at you different, like in a weird way. And I was like, "Wow, it's almost like I was on a TV show or something when suddenly realized, like, how did I not know you wrote books? That's so cool." And I'm like, "It is? All right, thanks." Like,
yeah, no, it was great. Yeah, a few, not a lot, but a few family members of mine bought a copy of the book, and then a close friend of the family, who was good friends with my mom, before and still is after she passed away. She bought a copy of the book, and she showed me it sitting on one of her coffee tables, and I thought, okay, like words getting out, people are starting to recognize that I'm not just a podcaster, I'm also a writer, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can be both. You can be 3-4 different things at once. It doesn't matter. So they bought copies of the book, and then some indie writer friends of mine, like Lou Tambone, he took a selfie of him holding up the book saying, "Hey boy, I got your book. I'm going to read your story tonight," blah, blah, blah. So, and the feedback from the anthology as a whole that we've gotten from the anthology as a whole has been really positive. And I've gotten a few messages here and there from friends of mine, and actually some random person, what do you call it, Facebook DM'd me one day and said, "Hey, I read your short story in the anthology called Wolf of the West," is the name of the short story I got in there. And he says, "I read Wolf of the West. The fact that you were able to drop people in like in the middle of the action at the beginning of your story and still be able to have people, understand what's going on through in and throughout, that's really good. So congratulations on the story. That's really well done. I think your writing is really well done." And I was
that's awesome.
I'm like, are you like, is this happening? You know what I mean, JK? Like,
Right?
is this real? Is this like, it seems like I'm living in an episode of The Twilight Zone where the guy wakes up where he's the same and everything around him is different. What episode was that? They were all like that. Anyway.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's awesome that you wrote a short story that's that powerful, and I think that also going back to the advice, like do exactly that. Write a short story if that's what you have. Get the story out. And I think we were talking backstage about some of our favorite shows, and one of mine also, and I forgot to mention, it's Justified. I think you mentioned that, but Justified. If you know that actually that came from I forget the author, but it came from a short story called Fire in the Hole. Raylan Gibbons. Yes. And it's not a series of books. It was a short story. And then I think you wrote another short story later, but it all came from one short story, inspired this series that is in the cultural like zeitgeist. Can I ever say that right? The word right? Yes, that word. It's out there, and I mean, people talk about that, and that it all came from a short story, and you're like, this character, yeah. And so I think that's awesome. Short stories. Some of my one of my favorite stories, actually, I just remembered this, is it's this kind of sci-fi horror short story called it's something like I have no mouth yet I must scream.
Ooh.
Should look that up. It's a short story where basically AI has taken over in the future or something, and it's super. I don't want to give a spoiler, but it's kind of like sci-fi body horror or whatever, and it like, I still every once in a while think about this and like the crazy stuff that this author made me like think about, all from a short story. And it's still like I've probably been 15 years since I read it, and since I first read it, and it's still stuck in there. That's a short story, and it's like so impactful.
Is that it? Is it
Yes.
Harlan Ellison?
I think so. I have no mouth and I must scream. Yeah. It's super good.
Interesting.
It's not that long, and it like stuck with me, and it was like crazy. Yeah. So
May have to
It's
look this one up, guys.
it's definitely it's a horror story, and it's if I remember, there's some like weird
Yeah.
adult themes in it, whatever. But someone sent it to me once, and I read it, and I was just like, holy crap, this is like intense, and I still think about stuff from it, and I was like, every once in a while, like, yeah. So like right now, it just popped in my head. I'm like, so impactful, and it was a short story. So
We're gonna have to look this up, ladies and gentlemen, because I've heard the name Harlan Ellison a lot of times over the years. So that's why. And yeah, you're right about Elmore Leonard. It just became a phenomena. And the funny thing is, here's another fun fact for you, JK. I went to a Comic Con many years ago. I've been going to Comic Cons 15 years. And one of the Comic Cons I went to in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., it's called Awesome Con. It's held every spring, I want to say, or early, what is it,
yeah,
early spring? It's late winter, early spring. Because the dates, they tend to change every year. So
yeah,
we went to AwesomeCon one year. I was with a group of friends, and one of the cosplayers I ran into, I looked over and I saw this guy wearing a jacket, a cowboy hat, and a pair of a cowboy and a pair of jeans. And I'm like, is that Raylan Givens? Is that Raylan Givens? So I walked up to her and I
right.
said, I tapped him on. I said, "Excuse me, sir. I'm sorry to bother you, but are you Raylan Givens from Justified? Like, is that your cosplay?" He's like, "Yeah, you're the first person to realize that." I was like, "Dude, I love Justified. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah.
I love Justified. It's a great show. Everybody on that show, but Timothy Oliphant just runs with it." But yeah, I'm like, "Dude, can I get
Oh,
a picture?"
he is Raylan
Yeah,
Givens.
dude, he just runs away with it. And I said, "Dude, can I get a picture with you?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." So I think we got a picture of the two of us together, and then I took a selfie. I took a picture of him, and he's doing a pose, like he's got his hand on his hip, like this, looking all badass around
Yeah,
stuff. And I threw it up on my Instagram, and I think maybe one or two people commented saying that it was Raylan Givens. I'm like, yeah, that's how
yeah,
impactful this show is, to the point where people at Comic Cons are dressing up as Raylan Givens, because anytime Raylan Givens walks into a room, you're going to listen to everything he's saying, everything he's doing. I mean, someone cut the executives at, what is it, FX Hulu, the studio that it was originally distributed from,
yeah,
cut together a 1-minute trailer promoting the entire series, saying, "Hey guys, just so everybody knows, Justified the complete series is now streaming, on Hulu, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Dude, this is a 1-minute trailer that has to detail 6-7 seasons, and it does it like without giving anything away, and it does it brilliantly, because the opening
yeah.
line is." I'm Deputy U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens. I don't pull my sidearm unless I intend to shoot to kill. I'm like, damn, like if that's not badass, JK, I don't know what
Oh,
is.
right. Yep. I quoted it the other day. So I'm a firearms instructor at work too.
Hmm.
And someone was like loading their magazine and dropped one of the rounds, or like it fell. And I said, I went, "Oh, next one's coming faster." From the book, or from the show. I don't know if you remember that episode, but it's where Raylan like pushes someone down and he's warning him, and he pops his magazine out and pulls out one of the unfired bullets and throws it at him, and he goes, "Next one's coming faster." And I was
Nice.
always like, okay, like, well, I would never do that in real life, but that's so badass. Like, it was like, okay, all right, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff. Yeah. So basically, this is the Justified Appreciation Hour, between Ryan of
Yeah,
Anacorn Studios and J.K. Wolfe, the indie writer extraordinaire. With that being said, though, let's talk about books here for a second, because this cover is so mysterious, eerie, strange, unfortunate, because it's a floating. I believe they call it a floater in crime
yeah.
terms. So it's dangerous. It could be violent, and there's even the slightest chance that somebody may have gotten killed. So for someone who's unfamiliar with the character of Harper and Shepard's Wake, what exactly is Shepard's Wake, and how did this come about?
So, the first book, Shadows of the Badge, is kind of an introduction to Detective Jake Harper. And we were talking about a little bit backstage. The first edition is out right now. A second edition will be coming out hopefully in a couple weeks. I'm just waiting on a couple things. I went back and um, as a writer, one of the things that happens is the more you write, the better you get. And so it's a lot of, like I mentioned, I really got that story. I had to get out of my head, and I started writing in January. It was published by the end of May last year. I've since gone back and re-edited some things, cut down. It's a lot of flashbacks and sort of story telling device. I really like Jake Harper. Is a newer detective in Shadows of the Badge. He's been through some things with the former department who framed him, and he gets cleared from that, and then moves on to a new department, and gets into this murder mystery. And so that's Shadows of the Badge. And then book two is I mentioned earlier, DM Weber and we had served in the Coast Guard together. So if you've ever seen NCIS, the show, every
Yes.
branch of the military has a version of their own investigators.
Mm-hmm.
And for the Coast Guard, it's CGIS, Coast Guard Investigative Service. And a little known fact about the Coast Guard is they will take reservists, the 2 weeks a month or 2 weeks a year, 1 weekend a month. They will actually take CGIS will have investigators that are reservists as long as in their primary job is in law enforcement. And so I always thought that was a really cool concept. And so one of the things that I do in Shepard's wake is Detective Jake Harper is a reserve CGIS special agent, and he's called up to active duty to for like a long-term murder case, and it relates to actually one of the things that happens in DM Weber's books, but you don't need to read his to go. This one takes place after one of his books, but Detective Jake Harper is Special Agent Harper in this. He's up in Puget Sound and he's dealing with a missing family. It starts out with a yacht that's floating out in the Puget Sound, is found by Seattle Harbor Patrol, and there's something suspicious about it. It's registered to a family that's expecting a baby. So like they pull up on Facebook or Instagram or whatever and see that this family that's pregnant and waiting for their baby just posted about this, and the father is a Coast Guard JAG officer, and he's missing. So they're missing, and something's suspicious about it. So they call in CGIS, and Detective Harper, who's Special Agent Harper for that book, is the one assigned the case. And so it kind of gave me a way to have Detective Harper do some stuff that wouldn't you normally be able to do. He gets to go around and be a special agent for a bit, but he's also already, from the events of Shadows of the Badge, already a very and now he's a like tenured homicide detective, so he gets to bring that experience to the Coast Guard and work through this missing persons case. My cover artist, Ambient Pixel Designs, he did a phenomenal job of this cover based on some of the stuff I gave him. And if you actually look at it, it kind of actually, it's hard to tell from the video, but like if you like spread it out, it's actually, you can see the floater there. It covers across the whole front and back. So he did a phenomenal job designing this cover for me. And I think so Shepard's Wake, I'm biased, but I think my second book was way better than my first and way harder hitting. And I think it's some of it I based on some real cases that I've been through and also that I've heard. I was listening, sometimes I get ideas from podcasts and different things that I listen to. And this the main mystery or main case that Harper goes through in Shepard's Wake is based on two different cases that I heard about on two different podcasts, and I was like, oh yeah, and then obviously my own spin on it, but I was like, I want to use that, and it just totally inspired my second book. So
Well, that is just phenomenal. Can't wait to read Shepherd's Wake, man, because I'm really digging Shadows of the Badge. It is very sharp. Among other things, but it's a very sharp tale, sharp story. I mean, sharp pun intended, because certain things happen that involve sharp objects in Shadows of the Badge. If you know what I'm saying, for those of you who have read the novel or in the process of reading it, like some of us here in the studio, it's just me. But yeah, things get pretty sharp in this book, figuratively and literally. So gee willikers. There is that. Congratulations on both, by the way, and the fact that you're
thank you.
you're putting out a new edition of Shadows of the Badge and you're doing the crossover between you and DM Weber is just even more. Isn't that special? I mean, it just is. It just is. Any special memories for you from being at book signings or other author-related events?
I think the craziest one was the super fan that like, and it was funny. It's like he bursts in like out of breath, like he opened the door out of breath. We're like 5 minutes into this thing, and he's like, "You here? I'm so happy!" And I mean, legitimately out of breath. And like, I'm like, "Did you run here? Like did you? We have a thing called cars." But it was so funny, and it was just so crazy that he was, because he had found mine at my first signings. Just happened to walk by. My local bookstore does these every month. part of like a First Friday thing. So like our whole downtown area. I live in a kind of a smaller suburban town in Oregon, and they do this they call them First Friday. So the first Friday of every month, there's like all the downtown businesses are open, or most of them are. And there's like wine tastings, and you walk through, and the bookstore does like host local authors. And so I did one last year, and the super fan at the time just happened to walk up and start talking to me, and he was like asking me about my books. It was right after Shepard's Wake came out. So this Shepard's Wake came out in November. So it was probably the first or second week of November. And so I'm explaining to him, and he was asking me, and I had told him about the books a little bit. And I said, hey, like I am a cop. I wrote these from a cop's perspective who's trying to work through some of the darkness that he's seen, and I put a lot of that in my own books. And for people that are just trying their best to investigate and bring justice to these victims. And he was like, "Oh, that sounds awesome." And he bought my first book, and then he went and sat down and started drinking his coffee. And then he got up. He's like, "You know what? I'll support you. I'll get your second book while I'm here." And he buys the second one. I thought, "Oh, that's cool." And then 6 months later, bursts in the door when we're doing this joint signing with DM Weber, and he's like, "I loved your books." Paid me a huge compliment. He said, "Hey, it reminded me a lot of Bosch from Connolly," which I was like, "That's awesome," because that's one of my favorite characters. And that's a really cool comparison for you to make. Thank you so much. And then he's like, "I know that you have this crossover, and just so cool to have this like chance encounter with someone at a book signing who happens to walk through, decides to support a local author." And he's the same one I found out from the bookstore is like emailing them asking, "Hey, do you have his third book in yet?" And then they're reaching out to me like, "Is your third book done yet?" Which, just to plug in there right now, my working title is Hostile Intent. It's a third book in the Jake Harper series. I'm hoping to have that out by July or August. I'm almost done with my first draft, and then I got to go to that dreaded editing phase. So we'll see. But I'm getting emails from a bookstore saying, "Hey, people have come in and are asking for your third book. How close are you?" And I'm like, "This is crazy." Like, I'm independent, so I don't have deadlines, which is awesome because I don't think I could ever meet them with my crazy life. But it was just kind of crazy to have that experience of someone bursting in, and then and him and perhaps other people asking that bookstore to ask me to hurry up and write the third book because they want it. Like that's some of the coolest thing that has like ever happened to me at a book signing. So
Man, that's really cool. So in other words, the millions of fans out there want this.
yeah. Yep, exactly.
Oh, geez. That's basically the attitude of everybody over there on the West Coast. Because here's the funny thing. Now, we know T.G. Brown is connected to J.K. Wolfe. J.K. Wolfe's connected to D.M. Weber. And apparently, T.G. Brown's also good friends with S.N. St. Clair. So it's like, I'm seeing a pattern here with you writers over there in the West Coast. Does everybody have to have a 2-letter first name when I'm calling you or texting you? Be like, "Yo, TG, what's happening?" Or SN, "How you doing, girl? What's going on? When's your next book coming out?" Because I really like the
All right.
Forgotten Girl is good. So it's just I don't know if it's a West Coast thing. Is it a Oregon or a Washington thing? Like I don't know what it is, but every time I've talked to people over there on the certain people anyway on the West Coast, like, "Oh yeah, just call me TG." What? You don't
Yeah.
have a real name? Like, no. Just call me TG. Like, are you sure? It's like, yeah. And I'm like, bro, like,
I
give me
I
your
think
like.
part of that is you got to have a little distance between your
True.
writer life and your professional life, because I think
True.
part of it too is like, I think maybe basically for TG Brown and I probably have both the same problem.
Mm.
He was a detective for a while, and I think he's promoted to sergeant now. I'm hopefully going into detectives, and we have real life cases and real life things. And the last thing I really want is someone to Google, officer so and so, and then see my book, right? So people in real life know and can connect it, but Google doesn't connect the two. And I think that's the big thing is or someone uh, Googling my book. I don't want them finding, I got haters out there in my professional life who will find body cam footage of things and out there and try to edit things to make things look bad, or to say, "Hey, I got railroaded by so and so," and I'm like, "Oh, no, man, I work sex crimes, so you probably didn't. You got convicted." But it's like I guess it's probably that little bit of just a little bit of separation because I want to be able to write and tell these stories without someone being like, "Well, is this really how you are?" And I'm like, "Well, no. I mean, this is a story. It's still fiction. It's still fun. Like we all have Justified, but I think in real life we don't really want a U.S. Marshal running around just shooting everyone. But it's a great story, and it's something that we all, sometimes it's kind of like another movie I love growing up is Boondock Saints. I love the Boondock Saints. Um, but in reality, man, we don't want that. We don't want to, Boston Irish dudes running around just executing people. But it makes for a great story. It makes for a great movie and a little bit of a revenge fantasy. And so I think that might be part of it. Is a lot of us that have professional lives don't want the two um, to connect on a cursory Google search. It's not hiding it. J.K. Wolfe is very, very close to my real name. um, and so I think it's like one letter off. So, and I won't say what letter that is, but it's one of those things that like that. A lot of our real life people know, but I call it the Google separation. So if you Google J.K. Wolfe or Google my real name, you don't have the two connect. So
Fair enough. Fair. I get that. I get that. I just find it a bit funny that every time I talk to somebody over the West Coast, they're like, "Oh yeah, call me this, call me that." I'm like, "What? What? What? Why couldn't you just say, Adam or Sarah or something like normal people?" Like, no, no, no. Just call me this. Like, all right. So, but that obviously they have their reasons for that, and I get that. But anyway, sorry. That's just trying to be funny. Even though my
no, no,
humor
it's
yeah, even though my humor is terrible and it's way off. But aside from that, who is an author, living or dead, you would love to have a conversation with?
um. I mean, I have a lot, but I think um there was, I've been totally blank on her name, so I'll go with Connolly for now. Michael Connolly, just because it is so
Lincoln
with
Lawyer. Yeah.
Lincoln Lawyer, Bosch, Ballard, all that. It would just be so interesting to sit down and talk because he has churned out so many books, and I think his first um his first Bosch book really defined the crime detective genre. And I know I was reading about him. He was like a crime reporter for years, and so he was really close to a lot of the subject matter. And I would love to just sit down and talk with him. A lot of his books. I think I'm on book 16 of the Bosch series right now. I just started from the beginning and started reading through it because I love the show so much. And he really tackles like a lot of the corruption in the LAPD. And I would love to sit down with him, maybe like how real was this? Like we all knew about the Rampart scandal and some of those other things. And I've never worked for like a large department. I've only worked for smaller ones, which are more connected to the community. And so like a lot of this stuff that you see in the news or see in these books would never be able to happen. Like in my department has like 30 people. Like a lot of this corruption you see, it would it would get rooted out immediately. The community would be in uproar, and so it'd be so interesting to sit down and be like, hey, like how real was this, or how much of this was fiction, or how much was this like you found out was really happening um, behind the scenes, and you decided to put in your book to kind of call attention, or how much of it was a storytelling device. Um, because one of the things I love about Bosch is he's really principled, and he's always going up against the corruption in his own department, and he's like, at the end of the day, one of my favorite quotes from that is everybody counts or nobody counts, and meaning that Bosch victim, small, famous or not famous, it doesn't matter. If they don't count, then nobody does. And so he always is butting heads with his administration and politics and this and that. So I just would love to sit down with Colin Connolly and be like, where did you get this? Was it a story that was told to you from like a real life cop? Because I know that he does a lot of like ride-alongs and knew a lot of detectives, or did you just decide to come up with this because it was furthered your story? So that'd be super interesting to find out how much. I'm always curious when I read a book how much is truly fiction and how much um, was based on reality. So
That would be a fascinating conversation. I mean, the first time I was introduced to Michael Connolly professionally was the movie Lincoln Lawyer with McConaughey, and I really, really liked it. It's a really good legal drama, legal thriller, whatever you want to call it. So and it's funny because now we have the Connolly verse on television.
Yep.
With all the shows that are going on. You got the Clancy verse with the Jack Ryan series and John Krasinski and his team roaming around doing stuff. You got the Taylor Sheridan verse with Yellowstone and like the 50,000 cajillion spinoffs.
Oh
Of,
yeah.
what was it called? The Taylor verse, the Sheridan verse. Yeah, all
Yeah.
yeah. You got the Taylor verse. You got and it's like almost never ending. It's like one story that gets popular, gets adapted into a film or television series, and then it just becomes a star overnight. And all these different writers of different genres are getting all the success that a lot of people feel that they deserve. So hey, I like
Mhm.
Connolly's Lincoln Lawyer. I haven't seen the series on Netflix. I haven't seen any of the Jack Ryans. Haven't seen any of the Bosch Legacy or Ballard. But
The Lincoln Lawyer series is really good. I really liked it. I think one of the challenging things that I'd also love to ask him about is
yeah,
so the Lincoln Lawyer series is on Netflix and the
yep,
Bosch
yeah, it
series
is.
is on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you read the books, Harry Bosch is the half brother of the Lincoln Lawyer. They're actually related.
No kidding.
But yeah, like they ended up having hopefully not too much of a spoiler, but it's in the books. It's been 20 years now, but I'm totally blanking on Lincoln Lawyer's real name. Totally blanking on his real name, the character, but his dad, who's also an attorney, had an affair with what turns out to be Bosch's mom, and he finds that out in like book 3 or 4 or whatever. So what's interesting is that they're so interconnected in the books, and later when in the books when Bosch retires from law enforcement, he ends up being a private investigator um, for the Lincoln Lawyer. And it's so interesting that they're so connected, but then because two different networks bought the properties, they can't connect in the TV series. And so that'd be really interesting to think, because I know he's helping produce both and keeping true to the character, but like how that must be hard, because like it'd be really hard for me to be like told by a network like, hey, this in what I might feel like was a integral to my story, I can't do because two different networks kept two different pieces. So I almost have to have stand-ins. And how did he get through that? I think that'd be such a fascinating thing to talk to him about, because like on one hand, it's awesome that your characters are being adapted for a wider audience, but another, like, you're being told that this these two things that are they're literally brothers can't meet, because all the fans are like, we'd love to have the two meet, and they can't because they're owned by two different properties. So
What a
interesting.
freaking drag that is. But here's the caveat to that though. If Spider-Man, who's owned by Sony, can be roped into the MCU with the Avengers and all those guys, you can make it work with Connolly's Lincoln Lawyer and Bosch. You can do that. I mean, come on.
You could, except for I just Connolly just posted on his social media that I think this next series or this next season of Lincoln Lawyer will be the last. So I know it's like that
Well,
they're wrapping it up. So I don't know, but I mean, look at it's possible. Look at, like you said, the MCU, but it also took how long and a different actor to do it. So,
true. True. We'll have to wait and see.
but
We'll have to wait and see, brother. Anything is
yeah,
anything is possible. What is maybe one, if not three books that belongs on everyone's bookshelf that are not your own, the ones you've written?
um, I recently started reading the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown.
Yes, I
Uh,
have it right over here on my TBR shelf. I have Red Rising right here in paperback.
have you read it?
No, everything is TBR. I'm so sorry. I'm disappointing
Oh
everybody
no.
today. I'm sorry. It is
Oh,
TBR, but I have it right here.
TBR. Um, I read the first three. He's got, I think, a second trilogy. I had to take a break because I was
Oh,
like
great.
literally it was so good that I realized like that I was trying to write my third book, and I realized I was like, man, I haven't touched writing in over a month because all I'm doing is reading these books. They're so freaking good. The first trilogy just sucked me in. Like, it was so good. And then I reading about how Pierce, he actually, I think you said before Red Rising, he wrote like 5 books or something, and they all got rejected by like publishers. And then reading his letter on how he sold this book was so great, because it was so different from um, other ways he did it. And it's phenomenal. It sucks you in. And I think I can say this without, yeah, because it's pretty early in the book. So his letter It's not too much of a spoiler because it happens in like the first 20 pages of his first book. So in his submission letter, he writes uh he writes it as if he's the main character from Red Rising, is and he starts it with first they hung my father, then they hung my wife. And it was like, that just sucks you right in. And that's how he got the publisher to take on his book. And it was so good. And also has become like into like the book world. And I heard they're going to make it into a movie, which that's going to be crazy because yeah, it's probably one of the best series I've written in it, like I or not written, read, and it just sucked me in so much that I had to stop writing because I was so like I need to read what happens next. And so all the spare time I had was and a lot of lost sleep was reading through these books. Like I'd realized like, oh man, it's like 2 in the morning. I haven't put this book down. So that that's probably the one that I gotta say right now comes to mind um is that obviously if you like military thrillers, I'm going to give a plug for my friend DM Weber's books. He, Cold Front is out. That's his first book, and he has Storm Warning is in with the editor now, and I've read the first draft of his third book, Nor'easter's Wake, and it's also good, and it's if you love military thrillers, these are going to be right up there, and they're based in the Coast Guard, and it's super interesting. Um, if you're into that because it's not like the Guardian, it's not Ashton Kutcher jumping out of helicopters. This is the boat world uh stumbling across like a conspiracy, and it's one of those up there if you love those kind of books. So I gotta say from the indie side that DM Weber's is amazing, and on the big publisher, you got to read Red Rising.
Yeah, the TBR list is out of control.
Oh yeah,
It's no
same here,
picnic.
same here.
It's horrible. I got this this shelf over here is TBR. The stuff to my
Mhm.
left, which you can't see here in the studio, there's another shelf right over here to my left. That's all TBR. It's one row though. It's not. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got 5 shelves, but only one of them is book related. So that one's TBR. How many are on there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's like 20, 25 books on that one, and then back here are 2 different stacks of paperbacks and hardcovers. So yeah, the TBR is it's out of control. It's deeper than the Marianas Trench. All right.
Yeah, mine's the same.
It's the absolute worst. This is what you and I are. I don't know how you feel about this, J.K. Wolf, but this is what I'm good at. I'm good at 2 things: buying books and buying bookmarks. Reading books
Yep.
is a totally different story compared to buying books. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, this last year was also the first year I really got into audiobooks. I'd always wanted to read it, but with how busy life is and everything, and I found myself doing a lot of long drives, and then also like I mentioned, we own this wedding venue, so I don't really do much with it other than I do a lot of the landscape work and heavy labor and things like that. So um, I found myself doing a lot of audiobooks, and so that's actually how I started reading the Bosch books. Reading them is that's how I got through that list. And I've stuck to that genre I'm only listening to, and then other ones I read. I have the Kindle app on my phone, so sometimes late at night, I don't want to have like a ring light on and wake up my wife, but if I can't sleep, I'm constantly. But yeah, the problem with the Kindle is you have access to so many good books. There's so many good indie authors out there, and I'm constantly adding to and my Kindle library, my TBR is out of control there too. And I feel like I finished one and I added three. So I have, and that's also where I love to push the genres that I normally wouldn't read as much. I love supporting other indie authors. I've tried romance. I've tried some of the other things. Like just it's not my normal genre one I wouldn't write or read in. But and there's some really good indie authors out there that are publishing some stuff. That like I said, I wouldn't normally read, and I'm reading. I'm like, that was actually really enjoyable, and I don't even like that genre. So there's some really good ones out there. But yeah, I'm with you on that. An out of control TBR it's a good problem to have, though. I mean, what a time to be alive that I don't have time for all the good movies and books that are out there. So
Yeah, and this is another weird thing about me too. As we get older and a little wiser, get the gray hairs in the back of our head to prove it. No, I don't have any yet. I'm getting there though. But the funny thing is, is that the more I do this, the more I, buy these books or bookmarks, support indie artists, support indie authors out there, folks. So giving you a free plug. The more I do this, the more I realize I'd rather just read books the rest of my life than watch movies. Because, and this is coming from someone
Hmm.
who grew up in the cinema landscape. I love movies, always have, always
Hmm.
will. I'm watching them since I was 3 that I can remember anyway. My mom probably sat me in front of the TV and had me watch them when I was a little baby, toddler, whatever. But no one remembers the first 3 years of their life. Okay. No one remembers that.
Right.
But what I can remember is going to the theater to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: The Secret of the Ooze. Go Ninja, go Ninja, go. All right. That's how old and decrepit I am. All right. Compared to JK over here, I mean, he's only 21, so don't worry about him. But
Ha!
yeah, I know. I'm being generous here, but still, movies are in my blood. They always have, they always will be. But at the same time, if someone were to turn off the television set tomorrow and say, hey, we're done with TV, we're done with movies, the system's down, we're done, we're finished, we're letting it go, we're closing the door on this side, and we're going to open the door to more books on the other. I wouldn't mind that because, quite
Right.
frankly, sitting in front of a couch with one of these in your hand, because I'm all about physical media, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing against people
Hmm.
who use Kindles or tablets, or people have told me for years that I should consider doing the audiobooks because it's just easier to get through the books faster. But here's the thing: if I'm listening to something and I'm also doing something on the computer, or I'm taking care of another matter in my life, it's hard for me to focus on listening to the book and also doing the laundry or doing the cleaning at the same time.
Oh
That's it.
yeah.
That's just me. I can't speak for everybody in this world, but I can only speak for myself.
I feel like
So
I'm the same way if it's something that requires my like brain
yeah,
power, but for stuff like like I
absolutely.
was saying, like this property has a huge lawn, and I one of the things that I liked last year, we got landscapers
Hmm.
this year, but last year was our first year owning this business, and so I was doing a lot of it myself. So I was out there mowing the lawn by hand because the ground was too soft for a riding lawnmower.
Oh wow.
So one of the ways I would unwind after work is I go out there and it'd be an hour and a half of just walking back and forth. Um, that's something I can listen to an audiobook with because it's really like all I'm doing is making these straight lines and I'm listening. And so those are the kind of tasks that or if I'm putting together some furniture for my kids or something, like I just got this really nice craft table thing for my daughter because she's 6 and she loves drawing and painting and doing all sorts of stuff, and it was taking over my house. So I bought her this nice thing I got from Amazon where it has like a pop-up easel and she can store all her art supplies in it. And so the other night I, spent 2 hours building that. After the kids went to bed, after my wife went to bed, everyone was in bed, and I just put on an audiobook. While I was doing something like that where it doesn't take, it's more of like I'm working my hands, doesn't take my brain concentration, then I can listen to the story. And I find that's about the only time, or like a long drive. We do a lot of camping and stuff. So if everyone's asleep in the car, I'm gonna, rather than just listen to music, I'll, listen to an audiobook or something. But I agree. If I'm working on something else or on the computer or doing something else, I'm not listening to the story. I'd rather have the physical media, in my hands. But I will say the Kindle app is nice for maybe, like I said, some of those genres that maybe you're experimenting with, maybe something, especially like I pay for Kindle Unlimited, so I can read, all these books for free, and the author gets paid by the page read, and then I don't feel so bad if I'm stretching what I normally would be comfortable reading, and I'm trying to support it, and I just can't get through it. I don't feel so bad about not finishing it there. And I can get through a lot more there, but it's just all situational. But yeah, my physical bookshelf is overflowing. I've got boxes of books in my garage. I'm
Oh
always
shoot.
trying to figure out where can I put more book space in my house to put these books back up because I don't like them sitting in a box. So, but I got toys everywhere. So, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. In the words of the '75 film, you're gonna need a bigger bookshelf.
yeah,
I mean, honestly, dude, you're gonna need a
yeah.
bigger bookshelf or something, or like it's like your own personal like man cave just full of books, because. And
Oh yeah.
I bought this sign at a Comic Con. It says TBRRD, which stands for TBR Road. I'm like, yeah, because everywhere you look, it's a road of books that need to be read, and I haven't even
Yeah.
touched them yet. And yet I keep buying more because I want to support indie authors. I want to support the classic authors because there are a lot of classics that I didn't get a chance to what do you call it, read when I was younger. So for example, we went to
Hmm.
this bookstore. By the way, this is a secondhand, used bookstore that we have here in our neck of the woods of Maryland. If anyone's ever been to the wonderful place known as Frederick, Maryland, and you go to a place called Wonder Book and Video, which is where I got this ridiculously good looking t-shirt where it says so many books in so little time, JK, so many books in so little time. Isn't it the truth? Yes, it is. But I walk in there and I buy all these classics like the County Monte Cristo, The Three Musketeers, Call of the Wild, White Fang.
Hmm.
What was the other one we got back there? We got Louis L'Amour. Louis L'Amour.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, because in this
the classic. What do they call those westerns? The not penny westerns or something like
yeah,
that, or
nickel and dime.
yeah. So my dad loves Louis L'Amour and was constantly giving me those in high school. I totally forgot about that. Like,
Yeah, Louis L'Amour. Yeah. I got like 5 or 6 women here, and they're all, like I said, TB freaking R, JK. They're all
oh
TBR.
yeah,
But the beautiful thing is, the bookstore that we went to, it's great. We love it. You're supporting a small business, right? And you're
oh
bringing
yeah.
books to a new home. And when you buy these books that are used and you see the creases and the creaks in them, they're like, hey, these books have been in other people's hands. These books have mileage on them. And not only that, you know, there's a story to be told here. So it's, yeah. And by the way, I do have a Michael Connelly novel here in my set. I'm just trying to think of which one. I think it's called No More Lies. Is it No More
Okay.
Lies? Zero Lies, something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, it's over here. It's in this pile. Once I get it or remember you know what? Didn't I take a picture of this? Hold on a second. Now you got me curious. I take a picture of all the books I buy most of the time. So let me see if it's still here. Oh, here it is. It's I got Louis L'Amour's Down the Long Hills, The Man from the Broken Hills. That's another one. Michael Connelly, The Closers. The Closers.
Mm.
That's the name of it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a more recent one.
Okay, so I got The Closers, and then there's another one by Robert Ludlum, who gave us, the Bourne franchise. I got it's called Robert Ludlum's The Bourne Legacy, but it's a new novel by Eric Van Loostrader. Loostrader.
Oh,
So that one's in there. So
yeah.
there you go.
I think I have the closers in mind. So so my dad also loves reading and loves Connolly and Clancy and all that. So it makes it easy for Christmas and his birthday and Father's Day. I just always get him a nice book. But lately he'll power through these books in like a week because he has to travel for work sometimes, and then he'll give it back to, or he'll give it to me to read next. Like, hey, you want to borrow this? And I'm like, no. So there's another TBR stack I have, is the books that I've gifted to my dad that he's like, this was so good, you should read it. And it's literally sitting on my kitchen counter right now because he brought it over and was like, hey, thanks for this book, you should read it. And I'm like, oh man, I will get there someday. So
Same here. We're going to get there someday, folks. We will get there someday. Another
yeah.
book we added to that mix over there on that, or this over here on this pile, is Agatha Christie's, and Then There Were None. So
Oh yeah.
more mystery.
One of the
Class.
one of the other cool things about audiobooks that I like, because I've had a lot of people ask me
Hmm.
for my book an audiobook, and I do plan to do Shadows of the Badge and Shepherd's Wake. um I can't really afford to hire a voice actor, so I'm gonna try recording it myself. We'll see how that goes, but I've had a few people, like I have a buddy who has ADHD, and he's like, man, I love books, I struggle to sit through them. And he's like, if you had an audiobook, I would listen to your book. So I'm gonna try that. But one of the cool things, and I know I keep talking about Connolly, but one of the coolest things is Connolly got, for some of his later Bosch books, he got Titus Welliver, who plays Bosch in the series, to read the books.
That's awesome.
So, like if you go read his first book, uh, there is an edition where Titus Welliver's reading it, and it is so good. And I've been going through. He has other voice actors, and I think the next book in the series that I'm in is starts from then on. It's Titus Welliver, and he also does a really good job of voicing the other uh, characters, and they sound like the series. I don't know. It's super cool, and I think that there is some value in that if they get it. Good voice actor can make or break it. I've heard some terrible ones out there, but I've heard some really good ones. And so, and I always think it's cool if the author sometimes does it. I've heard some where the author is actually the voice of those, and so I'm gonna give that my shot. Probably, hopefully, start on that later this summer because I've had enough requests now from people to start doing it. But again, it's hard to write when you're trying to read and then also record and do everything else. But I'm with you on the movies thing. I have a hard time sitting through a movie now. So
Yeah, I mean, there's certain movies I love to watch and rewatch and things like that. And I've watched a few new ones here and there. Some of the things I haven't seen yet, I've been able to sit down and watch. But I just feel like, man, it's better when I'm sitting on my couch reading a good book like this one by J.K. Wolfe, who's sitting right next to me right now. Hey, free plugs.
hey,
And
hey,
not only that, I have these campfire by the river nature sounds playing
oh
because I
yeah,
feel like I'm sitting by a little lake. The river, the water's running. You got the campfire crackling, and you hear the crickets. You hear the birds over here, like the crickets are chirping. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
to me is when I'm sitting on my couch and I have these nature sounds playing in the background, with all due respect, because we have technology at our fingertips. That's a great reading atmosphere. You know what I mean?
Oh
Just
yeah.
sitting by a campfire with the river, you get the river right next to you. You're chilling on a log, chilling on a or quad chair, whatever. I'm just saying. That to me is more relaxing than anything else. Is reading a good book with the just nature around you, whether it's figuratively or literally, or you're physically in nature, whatever it is. JK, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
a very,
that's one of my favorite things to
yeah,
do. Like I
it's a
mentioned earlier, we do a
relaxing
lot of
thing.
camping,
Hmm.
and when I'm camping, that's a lot of
Yeah.
times what I do. Like the kids go to bed, and my wife and I will have a fire going and maybe pour some wine, and we're either playing like board games or reading books. Kind of go old school. It's one of the best things to unplug, and it's like, hey, the phones are away. I got physical books, reading by firelight until it's too dark to do so, but you also got other lights. So that's one of my favorite, most relaxing things in recentering, is to be out in nature. So I'll have to try that. I'll have to try that. Listening to nature part. Soundtrack when I'm reading at home. So
Yeah, it's great. I mean, and it's at our fingertips too, on YouTube. Hashtag not a sponsor of the show, even though we stream on your streaming service every week. Thanks, YouTube. Yeah, no, I'm either listening to campfire by the lake sounds, or I'm listening just to crackling fireplace, like just a regular crackling fireplace, no music, just the fireplace. And I'm just sitting there on my couch, just reading my book, and I'm like, yeah, this is nice. This is peaceful to me. This is, in the words of Cosmo Kramer. What happened to you? Serenity. It is. Remember that Serenity Now. Serenity Now. It's great. I
oh
love
yeah.
that.
Well, also
Yeah, I
reminds
love,
me of Firefly. So
or that. There's that too. We aim to misbehave. With that being said, I do want to take this opportunity to say thank you so much to J.K. Wolfe for being our guest on this week's episode of the show on And I Quote. J.K., thank you so much for being here
yeah,
and taking
thank
the
you
time
so much for
out.
having me.
Hey, listen, you're welcome to come back here anytime. Your friends, DM Weber, SN St. Clair, all the authors who have two-letter names out there in Oregon or Washington State, whatever it is, out there on the West Coast, because I'm an East Coaster through and through. Tell them to give me a call, drop me an email, bring them on the show. We want to talk to each and every single one of them. And not only that, we want to invite you to come back to our monthly show that we do, and we can talk about this a little bit later off camera. But the Writer Showcase is where we gather four people together, four different writers, four different genres, and we ask them a series of questions about the writing process, what they love about writing, what is it that makes a great book in their eyes, et cetera, et cetera. Our next episode is going to be dropping on tonight, Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We got four writers joining us. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, JK, you are invited to be on that set for a future episode of the Writer Showcase.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be great is if you got TG Brown, Dean Weber, and I, and maybe one other. I don't know. That'd be really interesting if you got like some West Coast people all to be in there. So
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I wouldn't be against that at all. We could get all four of you. You, TG, DM Weber, yes, and SN St. Clair. SN St.
yeah.
Clair is a good friend of you kind folks over there on the west coast of the U.S. of A. So yeah, let's. You know what? Let me see, guys. Do we have room for that? Well, it's funny because SN St. Clair is going to be joining us on June the 27th, so she is booked. But you three gentlemen, we can get you on for the month of July. We're gonna see if we can get you on here in July. We're gonna do our best to make this happen.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Let's
yeah,
let's try to do it. That'd be super awesome actually. And
in
I
July we'll
think
do it in
yeah,
July. We'll wrap up the month of
yeah,
July. DM Weber's going to be sitting here in the hot seat on July 4th. 3 weeks later, we'll get all three of you and another writer because we want to include four.
yeah.
We're gonna get four writers in here for July's iteration of the Writer Showcase. And guess what, JK? You get the first seat in the house. So
All
you get the
right.
first seat because you're the one who pitched the idea. So you're going to get the first seat
There
in
you
the
go.
building. So he's going to be
I love
sitting.
it.
Yeah, you're going to be sitting front row center, where I'm going to be sitting in a corner somewhere.
And that'll be perfect timing because plugging myself, I'm like I said, knock on wood. I'm hoping my third book will be hopefully ready or really close to being ready to be released at that point. I have a second edition of Shadows of the Badge. Wolf will be out here in a couple weeks, so I'll have some more stuff to talk about too. I think so.
Good timing. Good timing. Yeah, but keep us as a community updated on that. But in the meantime, J.K. Wolfe, if someone wants to know more about you, purchase copies of your books, support you, and any way, which way, or for, where can they follow you on social media, my kind sir?
JK Wolf Books. So it's spelled kind of like this: JK Wolf with an E at the end. Books.com has a link to all my socials, or you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, all that's under JK Wolf Books. But the easiest way is right on my website. I have a bookstore on there. You can link to my Amazon store, or I do have a signed bookstore as well, all linked through there. I'm on Kindle Unlimited, all that you can follow. I'm a little more active, I think, on TikTok than Instagram for some reason. I don't know. It took me a little bit to get used to it, but for some reason, booktok is exploding. I had a lot of people find my books through some dumb videos I made on TikTok. So I just tried it out. I'm older than I look, and so TikTok's new to me. But apparently, the people that read books are all over that. So seems like sometimes I make some silly video on there, and a bunch of people read my books. So, anyways, that's where you can find me. jkwolfbooks.com website has the links to all my social and all the bookstore stuff and news and all that. I'm not a big blogger, so not really have much on there, but I do try to post on the socials as I'm going through the writing process and when news is coming up and yeah, so that's where you can find me.
Fantastic. And if you need any more marketing advice, ask TG Brown's wife. Because
Oh yeah,
good
Hill.
Lord, does she know a thing or two, or does she know a thing or two? She knows a thing or two because she's done a thing or two.
Yeah, they are killing it.
Dude, didn't you see the video that dropped? What was it, last night, I think, or the night before? Ashley was doing a live stream, TikTok bookshop talk, and she sold like 4 books during the live stream, and now they're up to like
It's
1100
insane.
1100 plus books have been sold through the TikTok. What do you call it? The TikTok shop? TikTok shop?
Yeah, something like that. It's insane because I remember when I think I sold
Yeah.
when I hit like 100 books sold, I was like, oh wow, that's amazing. And then it was like, and all these thousands of pages read or on Kindle, whatever. And then when I saw their numbers, I'm like, oh man, those are some
Yeah.
great. I mean, especially as an indie author. I mean, I've talked to TG and he is killing it out there. I'm sitting
Dude.
there like, man, you keep going on this and you might be able to quit your cop job. I mean, the
I
other
mean,
problem though is then you have less to write about, right? So you get inspiration from work. So
yeah. Yeah, no, they're great. We call them the dynamic duo here on set, and I've
mm,
said this to Ashley numerous times. And by the way, this is going to happen soon here in the End I Quote Studios, JK. Well, just so you're aware, Ashley is going to be joining us at some point. We're going to get her on the
all
show.
right.
We're gonna ask her questions about what is known as marketing and materials, marketing materials. How do you market a book? What's the best way to get started when marketing a book? We're basically gonna play a game of 20 questions. All right. We're gonna ask her
Yeah.
every single, what do you call it? Nook and cranny. Question about marketing. And Ashley, you're gonna be on set with us. You're gonna hang out with us. You're gonna have a good time. And who know, honestly, now that I think about it, you know what? If she's willing, if we can fit it into the schedule, maybe we can get her on the writer's showcase for July between
Oh
you
yeah.
and that'd be funny if we got TG and Mrs. TG Brown in the same studio, in the same show,
Oh yeah.
you, DM Weber, and that's our West Coast iteration right there.
Oh
I
yeah.
think I think
No,
that's what we could. Yeah,
that'd be phenomenal right there. Hey, I think you got it. Hey, I think we
I
just
think
came up with
I
that
think
episode.
yeah. So JK, start DMing your buddies over there on the West Coast. I'm going to
Oh
start
well,
DMing some people to put this little idea in their ear and be like, "Yo, we talked about you on the show. We're going to get you on set."
yeah,
So mark your
100%. No, I love it. That's a great idea.
You know what? I'm sitting here. I'm in the studio. Normally, we do this in a different set of circumstances and a different set of the camera. But I'm going to look at this. This is called a calendar, and according to our calendar, let me see if I read. Am I reading this right? Well, there may be something the week. Let me see. We normally do this towards the end of each month, respectively, but I may have something going on at the end of that month. So, with that being said, if we could I'm thinking you know what? It's either going to be July 18th or July the 25th. I think it may be July 18th, may be the smart play here because like I said, I may be going away on certain weeks of July. I just realized. So if we could fit everybody in on July the 18th, being the tentative date, I think that
Yeah,
would be a
I'll reach out.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
going to say
start
July
when we get
18th.
off this when we're done with this, I'll reach out to all those guys and
Please
see what they
do.
think. So
7/18, July 18th, Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Remember, this is Eastern time, so Pacific time, it's going to be
yeah,
like 4 o'clock. So it'll be right before supper time. Sorry.
perfect. That's all good. So
Yeah, buy yourself a late lunch. Buy yourself something to eat. If you want to have a bit of a snack while we're doing the show, have a drink or two. That's fine. Just
right.
be cool about it. That's all I'm saying. But tentative Saturday, July 18th, West Coast iteration of the Writer Showcase right here on set on Anti Code Studios. Mark it down. With that being said, I'm going to talk to you here again momentarily, JK. So if you're able to stick around for another minute or two, are you able to do so, or you
Yeah.
got to head out of here?
Oh, Absolutely. Yeah, I got some time. So.
All right, give me a minute or two. I'm going to be with you in just a second. Appreciate you being here, kind sir. Links to where you can follow JK Wolfe and myself are located in the description of this video down below. Yes, JK, we take care of you because we do our best to take care of every single guest who comes into our virtual studios. And I quote, links are in the description. You can follow me across all forms of social media simply at, where am I pointing to? Where is it? At and I quote channel. This has been a stellar episode of And I Quote, if I do say so myself. Just to give everyone a heads up, we're on the road to 5,000 subscribers. We're over 2,060 subscribers already, which thank you so much, everybody who has supported us over the years, if not more recently. Once we hit 5,000, we'll have live stream of returning guests and giveaways that you, the person who's watching or listening to this program, are going to be eligible to win. Also, the seasons are changing over there on the West Coast, aren't they, JK? So treat yourself. Get yourself a shirt, a hoodie, a sticker you can add to your water bottle. And yes, I believe we do have coffee mugs with some of our catchphrases on it. So that'll work for you. It's in our Redbubble store, which is linked in the description of this video in our link tree, and it's also linked in our social media bios. If you want to check out the Western genre, I wrote a short story. It's called Wolf of the West, more specifically, and it is a part of Western Tales Volume 1, published by Veritas Entertainment, with 16 different writers, 15 different stories. It's on Amazon, available in ebook, paperback, and hardcover. It's available right now, and check it out. Links are in the description or in my social media bios if you want to introduce somebody to the Western genre, or if you're just looking for a good time for the Old West, brother. Yeah. All you got to do is saddle up and go down in a blaze of glory. Bon Jovi, thank you, sir. Do not forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when videos go up or to go live. Movie watch-alongs are on Friday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and I Quote is on Saturdays, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. In other forms, excuse me, of special programming on Saturdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you for being here, and life is better when supporting indie creators from all over the world. Take a look at these fine folks.
Good morning. Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.